lion kingdom. She was on this safari and was killed by a lion, even though there were signs everywhere not to open your window, not to get out of your car. She didn't listen to them signs, rolled her window down to get a better picture, and when she was fiddling around with her camera, that lion rolled up on her, mauled her to death, and killed her instantly. And I brought a message on, beware of the lion. Well, this past week there was another story in the news about a lion. Maybe you read about Cecil the lion. Anybody see that article? Yeah. The 13-year-old lion named Cecil was a star attraction of the Hwange National Park in Zimbabwe, Africa. An American dentist identified as Walter Palmer paid $50,000 for the opportunity to hunt lions, and the lion that he killed was illegally lured off of protected land. The lion had a GPS tracking collar around its neck that I guess scientists had been tracking the lion's movements since 2008. During a hunt that lasted several days, Cecil the lion was wounded by an arrow shot by Palmer before it was tracked down 40 hours later and killed. Following its death, the hunters decapitated the lion's head and skinned it, leaving the carcass behind to rot. As news of this incident quickly spread, I mean, you couldn't get away from this story. It was in the newspapers, it was on TV, it was on the radio. As news of the incident quickly spread, the public outrage was so great that the dentist had to close his dental office and is in hiding because of death threats he had received. They showed pictures of his dental office. People had to place around it. We're going to kill you. You're a murderer and all this other stuff. So they haven't seen this guy. He's laying low. The incident is also being investigated by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services and the Zimbabwe government because the illegal hunt is considered poaching, which is punishable by a $20,000 fine and 10 years in prison. So this thing is starting to snowball. No telling where it's going to go. But here's the thing. I'm not here to give my opinion about hunting animals for sport, and I'm not here tonight as an animal rights activist. I just see a story about a lion that has spiritual applications for all of us. That's what I see. Whenever I see a story about a lion, I just look at it. How can I apply this spiritually? And I think I got something tonight. I want to preach tonight on the subject, the lion sleeps tonight. Notice, first of all, aiming our guns at the wrong lion. As stated in the opening, this dentist paid a lot of money to hunt lions. He said he didn't know the lion was protected by the wildlife preserve where it's there. He may have been telling it right, or he may have been lying. We won't know. He said he didn't know that it was lured out of the preserve where it was then killed. Could be telling the truth. It really doesn't matter. But just a couple of thoughts on this matter. Number one is the fact that the times, they are changing. Times are changing. This is a different day and age than the one we grew up in. And it's hard getting used to it. Brother Paul, I still get used to it. Things are changing so much. Growing up, we used to play cowboys and Indians, cops and robbers, everybody, every Christmas. What do you want? Give me a new gun, new cowboy gun, new shooting gun, whatever it may be, a pop gun, BB gun. Remember, you can't get them anymore. We used to have the fake knives. You know the ones, the plastic ones, when you stick it in somebody, it would retract inside it, but it looked like you were stabbed. I mean, I must have had a bunch of those things. And we'd go around, stabbing each other. Cap guns. Sometimes I wouldn't even bother putting them in my gun. I'd just put them on the ground and take a big rock, and smash that thing, and it would just go boom! Now it's become so politically incorrect that kids are being suspended for going like this, bang, bang, on the playground. God help us. Bang, bang, with their fingers. Yet parents are wondering why their sons are growing up, wanting to wear dresses and play with Barbie dolls. Growing up, everyone smoked. I'm not saying it's a good thing, I'm just saying it's just how it was. They were encouraged to smoke. Every store had those cigarette machines where you put a couple quarters in, pull that lever. Anybody was getting cigarettes. They could smoke their cigarettes anywhere. Now, today, you can't smoke indoors. You can't smoke outdoors, and it's driving smokers crazy. I mean, if you want to stop smoking, then stop selling cigarettes. But doggone, to penalize people that you can't smoke anywhere, it doesn't make sense to me. Back in the day, no one had a problem with hunting safaris. Just about every Hollywood actor had a picture of him standing next to his lion trophy. Humphrey Bogart, John Wayne. What was that guy? Charlton Heston. I'm thinking of the writer. The big beard.
Orson Welles.
Teddy Roosevelt had rooms and rooms of animal trophies that he personally hunted. I mean, it was how it was. The Museum of Natural History is filled with animals that were shot and killed and stuffed, and you could go there and see them. It was almost considered a manly pursuit to be a hunter, but not anymore. Animal rights activists are not only trying to stop all hunting and fishing, but they're trying to shut down zoos and circuses as well. Now, I'm against the mistreatment of any animal, but the problem today is animal rights groups are trying to classify animals as humans, and they're not. A judge just ruled in a case. These animal rights lawyers were trying to get monkeys human rights, saying that any monkey in captivity should be set free because they're humans. Well, this judge had enough sense to say they're very intelligent animals, but they're not humans, and they don't have the rights that humans have. They had no idea, these monkeys, what was going on in this trial. So he shot it down. But it wasn't for a lack of effort that they were trying to pass these laws to give monkeys human rights. There are areas, even in New Jersey, where builders can't build houses because it would upset the habitat of the local rattlesnakes. I don't know how you feel about it. I don't like rattlesnakes. I went to Bass River. There were signs everywhere, and I couldn't see what they said, so I told the kids, what do those signs say? They said, don't walk the trails because of timber rattlesnakes. I like cats. I like dogs. But if it meant putting a house on a rattlesnake habitat and killing them rascals, I'd be all for it. Don't harm the rattlesnakes. Give me a break. Each year, protesters disrupt the deer hunting season, yet they're nowhere to be found when folks hit deers with their cars because of an increased deer population. I've had a couple close calls. If you've ever hit a deer, you know what I'm talking about. Not a pretty thing. Now, I mentioned all that for a reason. Animal rights groups want all animals to be treated like humans and be given human rights. But humans themselves are being denied that same right, and no one seems to care. This is interesting here. The same week when every newspaper and every news program blasted the story about Cecil the lion's death, that same week there was a story that if you didn't look twice you wouldn't have seen it, about Planned Parenthood in the papers that nobody mentioned and no one seemed to have a problem with. Planned Parenthood representatives were secretly filmed negotiating prices for the sales of organs from aborted babies. At one point in the video, a woman identified as Mary Gatter, former president of the Planned Parenthood Medical Directors Council, speaks of using less crunchy techniques of aborting babies to preserve more wholesome specimens. That's what they consider these babies, these fetuses, specimens. I guess the process they were using is pretty barbaric, and the babies get crunched up real bad. So to avoid that, they're trying new techniques to do less damage to the specimens. She then joked that she wanted a Lamborghini when negotiating the price of baby parts. And they said that these specimens were being sold for $100 a pop. Now, I don't know how you feel about it. That upset me. I consider it an outrage against humanity. That they can talk like that, that they can talk so casually about the death of a baby, death of a child. It's disturbing that our nation was upset over a dead lion and protest against hunting in zoos and circuses. But that same crowd doesn't have a problem with babies being aborted for money. Why don't they have a problem with it? How come no one said anything? Because they don't consider fetuses to be people. They consider them to be specimens. something that you put in a bottle, like a lab rat or something like that. That's why they have more concern about animals than babies. Friends, we're aiming our guns at the wrong target. We're shooting at the wrong lion. The devil, that roaring lion, who Jesus called a liar and a murderer, is orchestrating the death of 1 million children each year through abortion. 1 million children across the world being aborted. Their bodies are being sold for parts, while he distracts the masses with campaigns to save the seal and save the whale and save the lions. There's something bad wrong with that. And I see the devil all over it. Shooting at the wrong lion. There's a second spiritual application that I see in this article about lions. And it's the fact that we need to learn to pick our battles. That Dennis had a good business, he had a good life, he had a good career, and now because of that one bad decision, he may lose everything. They're protesting. None of the clients are going there because they're afraid of getting hurt by these protesters. His name, his pictures are splattered all over the paper. They know where he lives. At the very least, he'll probably have to relocate because of the death threats. And as stated in the opening, may even face jail time because of this illegal hunt that he was a part of. The irony of the situation is that while he was hunting this lion, he himself was being stalked by a lion, that is, the devil. And then when it was all over, he bagged his lion, but the devil ended up bagging him. And the same thing happened to Peter. Jesus tried to warn him that the devil was stalking him like a hungry lion looking to sift him as wheat. Peter wouldn't listen, refused to believe that the devil could get to him. Peter, the big fisherman? Not me. Oh, no, not me. Maybe somebody else. When it was all over, Peter ended up denying the Lord 3 times. He was fixing to quit on God, but for the grace of God, he was finished. He was sifted like wheat, and he never saw it coming. Here's the thing. If it could happen to Peter, it can happen to us. Samson tore a lion apart with his bare hands. The indication was like it was like tearing tissue paper. That's how strong he was in the Lord. Tore that lion up like it was nothing. He bagged a lion, not realizing the lion that he should have been looking for bagged him. Never saw the enemy as a serious threat, made a joke all the way through his life until the Philistines came upon him and he lost the touch of God, had his eyes put out, and ended up dying with the Philistines. He got bagged by the lion. We've got to learn to pick our battles with discernment. Otherwise, we may find ourselves in a fight we shouldn't be in. Notice what we're told in Proverbs 26:17. Real interesting passage. A person who passes by and meddles in a quarrel that's not his is like one who grabs a dog by the ears. You know, dogs' ears are real sensitive. I'll rub Muggsy's ears real gentle like and he likes it. But if I came by and tugged on his ears, he probably would bite me. Their ears are real sensitive. And the Bible says, if you get involved in a fight that's not yours, if you get involved in a quarrel that you shouldn't be involved in, it's like plucking up a dog by the ears. You're going to get bit. There's no telling how many times folks have got involved in something they got no involved. Business get involved in. Every day in the paper, someone tries to break up some fight on the subway, at the train station, at a bus stop, and coming between them, he gets shanked or he gets shot, and he's dead. Every day there's something going on in our neighborhood. This old guy started yelling at this kid who was sitting on his wall. That kid wasn't doing nothing. He was just sitting there talking to this girl. And he came out and he was threatening to call the police. And the kid said, I'm just sitting on the wall. I went outside just to see if everything was all right, and I went right back inside. It wasn't my fight. You stir up trouble that way, someone sitting on your wall might be the least of your problems. You might be getting rocks through your window or some other thing. Learn to pick your battles. Had a neighbor, 8 o'clock in the morning, was banging on someone's door, and it was annoying. And a couple times I started to go outside and say something. God said, let it go, let it go. And eventually it stopped. But in the flesh, I wanted to go out there and fight. We can avoid a whole lot of trouble if we learn to pick our battles. That dentist could have went to a local shooting range and just shot a bunch of targets up. He could have took a pellet gun and went to his backyard and shot some squirrels and had himself a wonderful time. But he had a bag of line, and he didn't go about it the right way. And because of that one bad decision, he's in a world of trouble right now. This week, urban friars are on trial. It don't look good. I've been following the trial. He's trying to say they didn't know what they were doing, but they got witness after witness saying, how do you not know what you're doing when you scam banks for $800,000 that you know you don't got, that you know that you call these other banks? I hope he gets away. I don't hope he gets away with it. I hope that it works out, because no one gets any victories out of this but the devil. But it don't look good. They said he was hurting for money. One bad decision, one bad scheme, whoever talked him into it, he's facing 10 years in jail. His integrity as a pastor is ruined. So this is what I'm talking about here. Animal rights violation is not my fight. Getting involved in protests and for political rallies is not my battle. Folks getting into arguments on Facebook over some issue where you see 10 or 20 people just going back and forth arguing about something, not my fight. Got no interest in it. And the bottom line is you need to fight the battles God tells you to fight. Otherwise you might be facing all kind of trouble and fighting everybody. Pick and choose. One of the greatest lessons to me is knowing when to walk away from stuff that you shouldn't be involved in. Maybe it's your kids are fighting and they want someone to take their side, so they'll call you up and want you to stick up for them. Be careful about that, because you might get caught in the middle and have them both throwing things at you. There's a third thing concerning that article. Getting a trophy or becoming a trophy. That Dennis wasted no time cutting off that lion's head so that he could mount it on his wall as a trophy. He couldn't wait to get that lion's head cut off. Probably had the spot picked out over his mantle or over his fireplace where that lion's head was going to be as a trophy. A lot of folks are opposed to what they call trophy hunting because they say it's wasteful. He cut off that lion's head, skinned it, left the carcass there. They said that back in the old West, trains would be going across the West. These guys would be shooting buffalo from the window, and the Indians would come on the scene, and they were aghast to see these magnificent animals just rot in the desert sun. The Indians would use every part of the buffalo, everything, the horns, the hide, every part of it they used. And when they saw thousands of buffaloes just laying there skinned for their fur, Paul, same thing's happening to these magnificent elephants. Poachers are shooting these elephants, cutting off their tusks and leaving these magnificent animals just to die. Compare that to those who hunt animals and use every part. Deer meat's good. I love me some deer meat. And I respect those that take them deers and fix them deers up, and they're eating deer meat all winter. Use every part. But the deeper implication is, are you getting a trophy, or will you end up as a trophy? What I mean by this is, it should be our goal, it should be our desire to have treasure in heaven, to have eternal rewards waiting for us in glory. Amen? That's what I'm shooting for. That's what I'm hoping for. If we stay faithful to God, if we continue to live for God, there's no reason why we shouldn't have some trophies when we get to heaven. You could call them that. Crowns, trophies, treasures. No reason why we shouldn't have some trophies waiting for us. The problem, as I mentioned earlier, is that we as Christians are being stalked by a hungry lion that's looking to sift us as wheat, literally looking to put us through the meat grinder and make us a trophy on his wall as another Christian that he was able to take down. Every once in a while you'll see these funny movies where maybe this woman is looking for a husband, and then you'll see his head mounted on a wall and she finally got the guy that she was trying to bag. Or Ace Ventura, he didn't like animal hunters, so he had a wall where these guys that were hunting animals, he had their heads on a wall, joking around. But it gave me a mental image of this very thing that I can almost imagine the devil showing his demons, going down the line. See this one here? There's the head of a Christian. He was nothing. He was a pushover. Didn't take much to get him to fall. Now this one here, he was a little bit hard. I worked on him for quite a while. He fought me for a while until I figured out what his temptation was. And then he fell like a sack of potatoes. And this one over here, this is one of my prized trophies. When he fell, it took a lot of people with him. Wiped out half his church when I finally got him to fall. That's a real trophy right there. And on he could go. I believe there's a lot of trophies on the devil's wall of Christians that once lived for God, Christians that once towed the line, and for whatever reason fell. Now get this. This is good. That lion Cecil was safe and protected as long as he stayed within the confines of that wildlife preserve. Those poachers couldn't go in there. They weren't allowed in there. It was protected, and that lion was safe. 13 years. He just roamed around the animal preserve, king of the beasts. But what those poachers did was they tied an animal carcass of a zebra or an elephant or some critter, tied it to a rope attached to the back of their truck. And for a couple of days, they just drove around the outside of that animal preserve until that old lion picked up the scent of that carcass, of that dead animal. And after a while, he was lured from the safety of that habitat and was easily killed outside of the preserve. They didn't do anything legal. Technically, he was outside of the preserve. The minute he set foot out of there, he was open game. And friends, that's exactly what happens to so many Christians. As long as they stay in church, as long as they stay close to God, they will abide under the shadow of His wing. And God will surround them with His angels and place a hedge of protection about them, about us. But Christians sometimes get restless, and that call of the wild starts pulling them back into the world. Summertime comes. They start getting pulled, getting pulled, getting pulled. And the devil comes along and dangles temptations in their path, just like fishing lures to attract them, to lure them away from God. And that Christian that once walked that straight and narrow path, now he's being lured away, being drawn away. And that's a scriptural thing. Listen to this. James 1:14. I pictured this lion being lured out of here, and it's exactly how it happened. James 1:14. But every man is tempted when he is lured or drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then, when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth what? Death. That's what happened to that lion. That's what happens to a lot of Christians. Sin lures you away, tempts you away. We're all tempted. Even Jesus was tempted. But when you're lured away and giving temptation, you're on a path of destruction. The moment that lion left that animal preserve, he was on a path of destruction. Didn't even know it. Here's the thing. God gives each of us a free will in making decisions. He will try to convict us to stay on the straight and narrow path. And He will try to encourage us to live right and do right and stay right. But He won't stop us if we choose to go astray. We've got a free will. Though it must break God's heart, I can just see Him saying, knock yourself out. That's what you want. I'll be here waiting for you to pick up the pieces, but do what you got to do. It's our decision. And He will lift that hedge of protection around us. And He'll let that lion attack us. Not to punish us, but to get our attention. Because that's what it's going to take. If God didn't lift that hedge of protection, if He protected us the whole time, we would be indulging in our sin and saying, man, this is great. I'm having a good old time, and I'm still being protected by God. I guess it's not too bad. So we leave God no choice but to lift that hedge of protection and let the devil go at it with us. Hopefully, prayerfully, it'll send us running back to God. Some do repent of their sin. They do get right with God. They might be nicked up by life They might be banged up from what life does to you out there. Some of them are not the Christian they used to be because life has taken a toll on them. Maybe ravaged their mind, ruined their bodies, whatever it may be. But at least they got right with God. But others, unfortunately, end up like Cecil the lion, as another trophy on the devil's wall, never to be heard from again. And whatever trophies or eternal rewards they may have gained are lost in the fire. And that's the story of the lion sleeps tonight. Let's pray.